What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report. Following the bye week, we are back. Another big time opponent coming to Acrisure Stadium this weekend, number 14, Louisville, fresh off of a thrashing of then number 10 Notre Dame, who was dropped after that loss. A huge win for the undefeated Cardinals, and they head into Pittsburgh with a ton of momentum. Meanwhile, Pitt reeling. They are 1-4, riding the longest losing streak of Pat Narduzzi's tenure, 4 games. Their lone win has come against an FCS opponent, and they are looking for a spark. And Pat Narduzzi thinks he's got one. I think he's got a solution, or at least he's going to try to find one. And that is the big news of the bye week. It's the big news that we're going to be talking about today. So let's get right into it, and let's rehash a little bit of that big news from last week. So just kind of running down what happened. There's some good reporting from Noah Hiles of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, which revealed that Pitt would be moving on from Phil Jurkovec as starting quarterback and turning to Christian Veillere as their new starter. Jurkovec demoted. That part was confirmed with the revelation of the depth chart this week that had Veillere atop the quarterback depth chart and Jurkovec as his quarterback too. There are two other parts of that reporting from Mr. Hiles of the Post-Gazette that have yet to kind of play out. I'm not saying they've been debunked or anything, but just that we have a little bit more to see from them. And the first one is that Jurkovec was reportedly going to become the quarterback 3. Nate Yarnell would be the backup. That wasn't what the depth chart says, excuse me. But depth charts can lie. They have before. Typically, they are about 1 or 2 weeks behind what has actually happened on the field. You can think about, Bam Bremo wasn't listed as a starter until this week, but he's made a couple starts already. Kenny Johnson was listed as a starter just this week, a co-starter, but he got the start last time out against Virginia Tech. Matt Goncalves and Ryan Jacoby were on the depth chart long after they were ruled out with season-ending injuries. So, depth charts aren't always hard and fast, especially with Pat Narduzzi, so that's something to monitor as well. The second part of that reporting that is yet to play out is that Jurkovec had been exploring a move to tight end. Pat Narduzzi pushed back on this pretty hard today. He was asked if Jurkovec has run routes in practice. He said he has not in a team drill. When asked if he did in an individual setting, Narduzzi said he didn't recall. Narduzzi also had a pretty tense exchange where, he asked if just running routes makes someone a tight end. So he was clearly a little touchy about it. Clearly, didn't appreciate the fact that, people had kind of maybe been tipped off or maybe were asking questions about Jurkovec, maybe mixing a change to tight end. But Narduzzi also did leave the door open for Jurkovec to maybe play tight end down the road. Still, he said that the Panthers want to keep him at quarterback while he is at Pitt. I think there's still a possibility that Jurkovec comes out and maybe a special package and play some tight end. I think it's also possible that he maybe did explore this for a week during the bye and we just didn't know about it. And, maybe it didn't work out and they kind of scrapped it pretty early we might not get to see it again. So, we'll see how it plays on in the field. I still think there's a possibility, like I said, that he comes out in a special package and maybe plays a little bit of tight end. But, the very bones of this report is solid. The Post-Gazette, the one that confirmed that Jurkovec's out as starting quarterback. And so I got a few thoughts on that I'll run through with you as well. And the first one, and if you follow me on Twitter, I've talked about this a little bit, but this just kind of sucks for Phil. You think about all the expectations and all the hype that he had coming back to his hometown, thinking that he could take a roster that I think has a bunch of talent on it, some experience as well. He gets set up in a better situation than he was in at Boston College with his old offensive coordinator and really make something of his final year in college football in front of his hometown and continue Pitt's success that they've, kind of built and the momentum they've built from the past 2 years. It has not played out that way at all. Say what you will, his play hasn't been good. I don't think I or anyone in the city has been able to deny that. Just been not up to snuff. But he kind of became public enemy number 1 to this fan base in the process of it. And he does this in his hometown. He's getting booed at games, getting booed before he even steps on the field. Like, whatever you make of his play and whatever you think the causes of it are and what he might have cost this team with his play, or even his comments about, fans booing him. I understand that was an ugly moment for him as well, but I think you can empathize with the human that Phil is and understand that this is awful. Like, this sucks. This is a bad situation, and this is not fun for anyone to have to kind of endure and go through. So I hope there's still a little bit of empathy for Phil out there, understanding that this was a change that did need to be made, but this is just an ugly way to end a college career that started much more promisingly at a couple different points. Obviously he was a blue chip recruit, went to Notre Dame, and obviously thought he had a future there. Had to transfer, had some success at Boston College, and then obviously came here with the hype and just didn't play out at any of his stops the way that I think he imagined. So, like I said, understanding that a change need to be made, that still is not something I think you'd wish on. You'd wish on a person is for their career to kind of crash and burn the way that this one seems to have. But moving on to the actual football of the issue, this is a pretty bold move by Narduzzi, at least relative to his standards. Benching quarterbacks is not common, at least while he's been head coach at Pitt, and usually only comes in really desperate scenarios. Think about 2017 when they were 5-7, and they needed to bench, Ben DiNucci, blanking on his name for a second, for Kenny Pickett. They kind of went with a rotation in that Virginia Tech game, the penultimate game of the year, before riding with Kenny, the hot hand, into that Miami game, that big upset. You think also about, the only reason that Keaton Slovis didn't play in the bowl game last year was because he transferred out. That was a pretty desperate situation as well. Pitt needed to turn to their backup quarterback. Even early in Narduzzi's tenure, I believe 2015 and even into 2016, when there was competition between Chad Wojcik and Nathan Peterman, there was, it took a lot, I think, for Chad Wojcik to lose that job, and I don't think that kind of came from a huge, Peterman getting promoted didn't exactly come from a place of massive confidence. Eventually, it worked out, and Peterman had a great tenure at Pitt, and he was really good for this team. But you think about just the way they talked about that quarterback situation at the time. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of confidence, especially in 2015, in what Peterman could do. So, it was more just pretty similar to what Narduzzi talked about. This situation was like, where the team just needed a spark, and they went looking for that with a change at quarterback. So, I think this qualifies as kind of a desperate scenario, definitely. Longest losing streak of his tenure, that certainly qualifies. I'm just not sure I would have seen it coming. Quite honestly, I don't know if I would have bet on this happening. I think Narduzzi's a pretty stubborn dude, really likes to stick to his guns, and this isn't exactly sticking to his guns. And I'm sure this took some humility, a little bit of looking in the mirror, and it wasn't an easy decision at all, especially probably because of the relationship that he has with Jurkovec. So, and then the other part of this is that I don't think it leads to immediate improvement. I don't think putting Christian Veillere in there really changes your outlook on the season as far as a wins and loss standpoint. This looks more like a move to the future, even if Pat Narduzzi can't say that publicly. He wants to, not punt on this year, not get guys to quit. He wants them to continue to try to win, and that's what he said this move is about. Still, they're significantly younger than they were when they started the year. Part of that was just because of straight attrition. Part of that is because they've made moves that they thought, were better for them, and just thought they had more talent behind some of these older guys with some younger dudes. As far as, Terrence Moore and Braylon Lovelace and Kyle Lewis in kind of getting some more burn and maybe getting a start here or there, that's more attrition. Obviously, those are injuries that are kind of forcing those guys into action. But, Veillere, and then even making Kenny Johnson a co-starter at wide receiver this week, that seems more about looking towards the future and thinking, okay, we got some talented guys. Let's see what they got, and let's get them some snaps so that maybe next year we can have something and they can have experience under their belt. But at the end of the day, I think things are going to get worse before they get better. That's not what any fan wants to hear, but it is probably the reality. Like I said, they're very young. You're introducing a lot of new moving pieces to the lineup, and obviously quarterback is a huge position to make a change at. So, like I said, the results on the field might not show it, but I think there will now kind of be something to watch, be something to pay attention to down the stretch of the year. You can watch the kids play, you can watch the young guys kind of come into their own, hopefully, even if it doesn't show up in wins and losses. It gives you something to at least pay attention to as the season kind of drifts towards the more disappointing end of things. And there's so much young talent on this team, I think, still. And I think you'll see more and more of it as the weeks wear on and as they start to kind of look a little bit more towards the future and find some things that might work and be worth salvaging. So with that, I'm headed out of here. Thanks for tuning into another Inside Pitt Practice Report. My name is Stephen Thompson. Make sure to stay tuned with us through the end of this week and into the Louisville game as we explore this quarterback change a little bit deeper and think about what it means for the Panthers moving forward, most obviously with that Louisville game on Saturday at Acrisure Stadium. So make sure to like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers and find all the reporting from Pitt practices and games at InsideThePanthers.com. Thanks for tuning in again, and until next time, see ya.